Good evening, gamers. I am coming to you today live. This is just a chill video I wanted to make. I wanted to do a little analysis of the trailer for uh, a new movie that's coming out in just a few days, arguably the most anticipated film of the last century. And that is, of course, the long-awaited sequel to the 2018 film Minions. Let me just fact check that real quick. Oh, 2015. That was 2015? The long-awaited sequel to the 2015 classic Minions, aptly titled Minions 2: The Rise of Gru. And this, of course, is a prequel to the Despicable Me franchise, Despicable Me 1, 2, and 3, starring Steve Carell as Gru. I believe this film is going to be exploring some of the backstory regarding Gru's childhood when he first came into contact with the titular minions. Um, so I have the trailer pulled up here. I know this movie is coming out in just a couple of days, but of course everybody's got their theories going around as to what's going to happen, and I wanted to do like a frame by frame breakdown, in depth analysis of this trailer, and sort of talk about my expectations for the film, some theories I have, and just have some fun checking out this trailer with y'all. So let's just jump right into it.
Good night. Good night.
Okay, so right off the bat here, we've got a
No!
little comedic scene with Gru and the minions here. I gotta say, I love Gru's character design. I think it's very inspired. I like that they've given him hair. Of course, he hasn't lost his hair yet. Um, he's bald, of course, in the original trilogy. They've done a good job de-aging him. I think that's a real testament to how far we've come with animation. I believe these minions next to him are the same minions from
Good
the
night.
first Minions movie.
Good night.
There's just two here, but if you'll see,
No!
yeah, yeah. So these appear to be the three minions who starred in the original Minions film from 2015. I believe their names are Kevin, Bob, and Stuart. Yeah, this is Kevin here on the right, the sort of tall, lanky one. Stuart is the one-eyed one, and Bob is the shorter, fatter one. So they're essentially um, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore of Alvin and the Chipmunks. It's very in character here for Stuart to be wearing this house coat, and I love the way he just jumps in.
No!
Yeah, I mean that's just comedy gold right there. You can see the anger on Gru's face as Stuart has just disturbed his peaceful slumber here. Bob's got a teddy bear. That's very in character for Bob. He's always been sort of the baby of the group. Just really great right off the bat that they're showing us these familiar faces, and I gotta say I'm excited for this threesome to become a foursome with the addition of young Gru. I think that'll really add some interesting dynamics. I want to point out over here on the clock, it appears to be 9:37. I'm assuming PM, because it is dark out in this scene. And that actually gives us a clue as to what Gru's bedtime would have been, which is actually really interesting because 9:37, it's not the latest, but for a little kid, I mean, I think Gru is supposed to be around 10 years old here. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, he's pushing the envelope there, I think, for that age. He may be staying up a little past his bedtime, which I think is very in character for someone as despicable as Gru. Um, and then I'll just go back to this first opening shot of the house. You know, a modest home. It appears to be a bungalow, maybe a second story over there on the left side of the house. But this is presumably where Gru has been raised by his mother, who, as we know from the original Despicable Me, is not the most caring parent in the world. But I'm assuming we'll probably see more of her in the movie. I'd really like to see what they do with that character because I think there's a lot more to dig into there, a lot more to explore. You know, what has her life been like, raising Gru as a presumably a single mother? We never see Gru's father. These are all questions that will hopefully be answered in this movie.
Yes. Good night. Good night. No. Minions are
Comedy genius here. Of course, we get the Illumination logo, and then a minion swings on, knocking out some of the letters there. And if you look closely, it actually spells out Minion. Minion. I mean, you just can't write this stuff. That's incredible. That's truly smart. I love the way they just leave these little subtle kind of Easter eggs for the fans. It's a testament to how much work gets and thought and love and care gets put into these films.
Minions! There are a lot of other villains in the world, but I am going to be a super villain.
Okay, so this is interesting. This is really interesting. We see in this shot what appears to be 4 new villain characters. We've got sort of a wrestler-looking dude over here, really big chin, a woman with quite a large afro and what appears to be a fur coat of sorts, and they appear to be stealing some kind of treasured artifact here. I'm not really... Oh, actually, that's really cool. I never noticed this before, but look, if you look really... That actually looks like Gru tied up in chains. So it looks like Gru is going to be captured by these villains. That's really interesting. And then this fellow over on the right here seems to be some kind of hockey player. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait for the movie to figure out who these characters are. Oh, and there appears to be a nun next to them as well. That's not someone we'd seen before either. So yeah, very cool. So what's Gru up to in this scene? He's walking into this theater. He sets off this little device with some kind of fart cloud inside it.
Super villain.
Tosses it in. Gotta love the Jaws poster there on the wall. That is, of course, a reference to the 1977 film Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg. And that's actually interesting because it's filling out the world a bit. This movie obviously takes place back in the 70s, presumably when Gru was just a child. It makes you wonder what was Gru up to in that scene. Was he trying to get into the movie? Perhaps it's an R-rated film that he was not allowed to see because he's just a kid. We don't know. We do not know. It's also interesting that Gru's fashion sense does not appear to have changed since his childhood. He's still wearing that striped gray and black scarf and dressing all in black. Interesting detail that they chose to depict Gru as a rather evil boy.
This world is mine for the taking. Make me king as we move.
This is interesting. The evil bank. Now, I'm sure you all remember the evil bank from the first Despicable Me. And in that movie, they were sort of antagonists because Gru owed them money, but he was actually in good with them. So it's interesting here as a kid, he appears to be robbing the bank. It looks like he's wearing some kind of Boy Scouts uniform here. Maybe we'll get to see Gru as a member of a Boy Scouts troop. One can only imagine the kind of hilarious antics and shenanigans that Gru would get up to in that context. But yeah, he's climbing up this vault. He's opening it up. Oh, scrambling a little bit with it. Now what's she saying about him?
Thinks he can be a villain.
This puny little child thinks he can be a villain. And he says,
Despicable.
I am pretty despicable. That is, of course, a reference to the title of the first Despicable Me film. Really genius writing there. Just the way they work in these little references and Easter eggs for the fans. It just puts a smile on your face. Presumably there will be quite a bit of fan service in this movie. This scene here is remarkably reminiscent of the freeze ray scene from the first Despicable Me, where adult Gru comes in with a freeze ray and freezes all the customers in line for coffee. Although in this scene he seems to be using a a cheese fondue gun of sorts to coat all these customers in line for ice cream in cheese. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels. They're showing even the framing of the shot is the same as that scene from Despicable Me 1. It actually provides some interesting new context for Despicable Me because we understand now with this Gru has not changed a whole lot from childhood to adulthood. He really is stuck in this perpetual loop of just doing the same thing over and over. And it's not until he meets the three Gorals from that movie that he is able to pull himself out of that cycle that has been going on apparently since childhood. Really fascinating psychology there. But Gru was definitely an intelligent kid. He was able to build all this stuff. You know, the cheese ray, the bike. Love the 70s haircuts on these minions. So this guy, he's real strong. He seems to have some powers. It almost makes me wonder if they're going for some kind of like Avengers style cinematic universe with these characters. They're really expanding the cast here of all the different villains with different powers, and I think there's a lot that they could do with that. I love this shot here because the way the minion Kevin, I believe, is pulling back Gru's mouth. He's really holding on for dear life there. I mean, just look at the expression on his face. He's like praying to God that he doesn't die. They're just going so fast. And if we look in this pocket here, that looks like the same gem. Is it the same gem? It is. That is the same artifact that this other villain has stolen. Clearly, Gru is going to be at odds with these other villain characters in some way. They don't believe in him. So I suppose it'll be a story about kind of proving your worth to your heroes as Gru kind of gets in their way a little bit. And they're not expecting a kid to be able to do these amazing things. But Gru really proves them wrong, it seems, and I'm excited to see that. I think it'll be a real inspiration for kids everywhere. Oh, and this is cool. Look at the nun has nunchucks. See, this is the kind of brilliant writing that we've come to expect from Illumination movies. It's just so clever, so smart. Wow. I just want to play that shot again. The way he hurls the van at them. And the slow-mo. Wow. One of the nunchucks from the nun. The nun has chucked the nunchuck across here. The minions appear to be screaming. Gru is bracing for impact. Actually, Stuart almost looks a little bit kind of aroused there. I don't know what that's about. Maybe we'll be exploring the minions' sexuality in this movie. That's certainly an avenue that hasn't been really explored that much in past volumes, but we'll have to wait and see. This is all just speculation for now. And they're chanting, "Mini boss, mini boss." I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that Gru is their boss, but also mini. He's a little small. He's short in stature. And then, of course, these movies are known for their comedy, so this trailer certainly delivers in that respect too, as we see Gru's reaction to them.
Alright, I'm not Minnie. Please stop calling me that.
So he doesn't really like it. It seems as though Bob, Kevin, and Stuart have recruited all their minion friends to come to the city and help Gru. I don't remember seeing a lot of other minions in that first Minions movie, but somehow they've got all their friends to come here and work for Gru, and they appear to be in some kind of lab here. It seems as though Gru has already really got a real evil operation going here, even at a young age, which is pretty dang impressive.
Please stop calling me that. Time to strike!
Whoa! Okay, so check out these vehicles.
I'm not Minnie. Please stop calling me that. Time to strike!
We got a giant lobster robot vehicle for the lobster guy. We've got some kind of motorbike for Hockey Dude. what looks like a candelabra or an organ of sorts. I'm assuming that's the nun's vehicle, the nunchuck. Little tank here for the wrestler dude. And then just a sweet ride for the leader here with the afro. They're giving us just little snippets of the kind of destruction and intense action we're going to see in this movie epic. Whoa. Okay, so the drama is amping up. It appears Gru has been kidnapped by one of these villains. The terror in his eyes, you can just feel it. It cuts deep. And the despair in Kevin's eyes here as he runs after his master, desperately trying to save him, and then falls. He can't keep up. He reaches out in desperation, screaming, "Mini Boss!" But Mini Boss has been taken, and there's nothing Kevin can do. The rain just adds to the atmosphere here. The way it zooms out, you can feel his loneliness. So this is going to be some high-stakes stuff for the Minions this time. Obviously, it is a prequel, so we do know that Gru survives. But even so, it'll be very cool to explore the kind of relationship that Gru forms with the Minions in this film. It seems like there's some real raw emotion going on here. Okay, yeah, so Chinatown. Obviously, this is going to be an important location.
My minions will save me.
You like picking on little guys, huh? I am a master of Kung Fu.
Teach-nous Kung Fu? Por smoochy smoochy?
Kung Fu.
So, a lot going on here.
My minions
Gru has definitely been kidnapped by this guy. That's interesting. We haven't seen him before.
will save me.
He seems to be the leader of some kind of biker gang, and a wealthy one at that. Look, he's got crocodile pelts
My minions will
as chairs in his room here. He's also got zebra pelts. Definitely a rich kind of guy. Gotta say, Gru is looking awful cute here in this scene. I mean, look at those apple cheeks. That's just the face of America.
save me.
You like
And then who's this woman? So Bob is enamored with her. This is actually interesting. This is the first time I'm noticing Bob appears to have two different colored eyes, one green and one brown. Incidentally, I happen to have hazel eyes myself, so if I'm being honest, I feel a certain connection to Bob. Also interesting that they don't have the G logos on their overalls yet. Of course, these were just overalls that they found hanging on a clothesline in the first Minions movie. That was a bit of lore that we got filled in for us in that installment. But I wonder at what point Gru began branding his Minions, or at least their clothing.
huh? I am a master of Kung Fu.
She's a master of Kung Fu. She's definitely got great hair. She is a badass. I'll just say it. I mean, the way she took out those guys, I have a feeling she's going to be important. And then this is a classic Stewart moment
I
here.
am a master of Kung Fu.
Teach-nous Kung Fu? Por smoochy smoochy?
I will teach you.
So that was brilliant. We got a classic Stewart moment here where he tries to seduce the woman who seems to be performing acupuncture on a patient here. And then, because she is in such control of her patient's muscular system, she actually uses him to punch Stewart's lights out. Brilliant.
I will teach you.
So, I have a feeling she's going to be sort of like a Mr. Miyagi kind of figure for the Minions. She's going to teach them Kung Fu. Not sure how that's going to work since their limbs are so small and they're very kind of pill-shaped, but I digress. I'm sure they will figure it out. So, here's another location. Looks like they're going to be going to some kind of jungle. We got some kind of dojo here. Kevin's got a little sweatband on in this scene. He is ready to go, giving kind of Kill Bill vibes. You know, how Uma Thurman's character had to train in Kung Fu in order to take revenge on her former boss, Bill. Only the twist in this movie is, of course, the minions are saving their boss, their mini-boss.
Now you.
This may be the only opportunity that I got.
Wow. So Kevin really's trying here. It's a classic scenario. He sees the master succeed. He tries to do the same thing. He fails. I'm assuming this is going to be a very important plot line in the film. Perhaps by the end of it, Kevin will be able to break the board with his forehead. But as of now, he is simply too weak. And then I guess we'll get to see Stuart try it now.
Kevin, Kevin, Kevin.
All that false bravado and... Brilliant. Now, I do want to point out that Kevin's face here, if you look closely, he seems to be enjoying this to an extent. And we haven't really seen this sort of masochistic tendency from Kevin in the past, but this sort of comes back to the point I was making earlier about this movie potentially exploring the minions' sexualities. The sexual tension here between Kevin and Stuart is very palpable. Bob, of course, being the youngest of the group, has no clue what's going on, and it's sort of evocative of that traumatic experience of walking in on your parents doing something naughty. Bob standing there on the side just going, what? This is a classic kind of Mr. Bean type scenario here, paying homage to Rowan Atkinson, one of the greats. Bob appears to have gotten flushed down the toilet in this airplane bathroom. He fits quite snugly in there. Look at his little pants. They really know how to design an adorable little creature, and I'm sure we'll be seeing Minions pilot outfit plush toys flying off the shelves this Christmas. Oh! And I didn't notice this before, but you actually see a little bit of nudity there. It's getting a bit risque. We see Bob's bare yellow ass. I think that's going to show that this movie is going to be a little more mature than we're used to with this franchise, which I think is cool. They're going for a more adult tone. It's moments like this that make me excited because I think that this movie's not going to hold back on the type of mature themes that it's willing to explore. Like, this is going to be an action-packed movie. I should point out as well the choice of song for this trailer, Lose Yourself by Eminem. Perfect choice, of course, because you really only do get one shot. I think it's quite poetic, actually, that they've chosen to use that song. You gotta lose yourself in the moment. You own it. You better never let it go. That's what they're telling the fans. Like, this is it, gang. This is the movie of the century. Minions 2, The Rise of Gru. Get with it. Like, get on it. But it's also, the stakes are high for the minions themselves because they only got one shot to save their mini-boss. Looks like they're wearing some kind of orange jumpsuits there. Not sure what that's about or where they got them from. But, I gotta say, they look swag.
Why don't we make...
So it looks like Gru has been tied up to some kind of clock here. I wonder if this is going to culminate in some kind of high-stakes rescue mission, race against time sort of scenario where Gru is going to be killed if the minions don't save him in time. It's quite scary, actually.
Make this a fair fight.
And this is interesting. So the dragon is talking with the same voice as that villain we saw from earlier. So I wonder if there's going to be some kind of transmogrification element to this story. Perhaps the sacred artifact is enchanted with a magic that can perform these sort of transformations. Perhaps the gorilla was also one of the villains from the previous scene. And look what she does to the minions here. Kevin gets turned into a rabbit. I think this is something that the furry community has wanted to see in these films for a long time. And I think it's great that they're finally paying homage to that kind of furry minion fan art. It shows a real connection to the fan base. And of course, Stuart here, seizing the opportunity to laugh at his friend Kevin's expense. Then, of course, it's not too long before Bob is turned into a goat. Stuart just killing himself laughing over here. But I'm sure we all know what's coming as comedy comes in threes, and this trailer certainly delivers on that front. Boom. I mean, you just can't write this stuff. Of course he's a chicken. And of course, as chickens say, baka. Little laugh from Bob there as he relishes in the sweet, sweet karma here. This is going to be one epic battle. I'm assuming this is towards the end of the film. It all is going to culminate in some kind of crazy duel between the minions in their furry forms and these new villains.
Minions assemble!
Minions assemble. That is, of course, a reference to the 2019 classic Avengers Endgame, Captain America's line, Avengers Assemble, another pop culture giant of its time, very classy.
Minions assemble!
And this is interesting. Kevin, in his furry form, becomes enraged. And we see it in his eyes. I mean, wow! That is terrifying. He seems to be on fire here as he runs. I mean, we've never seen this kind of intense emotion from a minion before. And I think this ties in with that scene of him in the rain earlier. You know, I mean, it's clearly he's been extremely impacted by this loss of his mini-boss. And he's going to do whatever it takes to get him back, even if it means fighting potentially to the death. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, but there have been a lot of rumors that not every character is going to survive this movie. I mean, the references to Avengers Endgame, of course, Iron Man died in that film. It seems like they're hinting at some kind of important death that will happen in Minions 2, The Rise of Gru. I mean, this is clearly paying homage as well to some old kung fu movies. I mean, the way he comes down here with his big rabbit foot. What a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot composition. So it seems like they do defeat these villains. And of course, you know, giving away the ending in your trailer is important because you don't want your fans to not know what's going to happen in your film. Of course, you want them to know what to expect. So I appreciate that they're letting us know it will be a triumph for the minions in the end. Also, this is curious. It seems as though Stuart has given birth to a little baby chick minion of sorts, leading me to believe that either Stuart is a transgender minion assigned female at birth and thus able to be pregnant, or perhaps minions do not have gender or sex, I should say, and they simply reproduce asexually. These are all questions that fans have been asking for decades, and perhaps we will finally get an answer. That's really cool. Also, it will be great to see how Stuart adapts to being a father.
I'm not...
And then, of course, one last bit of comedy before the final tease for the big final fight. Yeah, so it does look like, upon closer inspection, each one of these creature characters is a transformed version of the villains from earlier in the film. This snake here is Nunchuck. This gorilla with the lobster claw is Lobster Man. The dragon is Afro. The bull, I'm assuming, is the wrestler. And then this tiger here with the roller skates is the hockey player. So yeah, big day for furries. Big day for furries everywhere.